Dark, rich, complex. The grapes grown at Cheatu Montelena have produced some of California's best wine for decades. These grapes have consistently been the starting point for an unbroken string of first-growth wine in the Bordeaux tradition. Situated north of San Francisco, the Cheatu sits at the head of the Napa Valley, ideal country for growing a world-class grape. In 1972, Jim Barrett revived Cheatu Montelena as a winery. After Jim's passing in 2013, his son, Bo Barrett, took the helm as CEO and master winemaker. Today, the family continues the tradition of making some of the greatest wines America has ever produced.
We struck gold when we started to make wine here because of the soil, the location, the climate. If we were growing grapes somewhere else in the valley, we couldn't do it.
The single most unique attribute to Cheatu Montelena is this vineyard. The soil complexity here, it has so many different soils and it gives us so many different flavors and textures in the wine. It's not the hand of man, it's the natural part of the winemaking process that's so important.
Bo Barrett, Cheatu Montelena's winemaker, grew up working this soil and observing the weather, day in and day out, season by season.
Growing grapes is a long and complicated process. The decision chain can be a couple hundred things. Is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? What's the weather going to do? How are the grapevines going to react? Are we going to shoot thin? Is the crop level right? Did it get frosted? Are we going to irrigate or not irrigate? Is this the best thing for the land?
Bo's knowledge of the land and mesoclimate allows Cheatu Montelena to produce a consistently outstanding wine.
The main thing about red wine is you need high daytime temperatures to give nice, ripe, berry, concentrated flavors. But equally important is the cold nighttime temperatures where you hold the acid and the concentration and the structure of the wine are set at night. So you have to have both. Here we have the cooling downslope air from Mount St. Helena. So every night the cold air washes through this vineyard before it gets to the rest of Napa Valley, and we actually have an advantage.
From the beginning, the wine-growing team understood the need to plant the right grape in the right place. The estate vineyards feature 11 separate blocks of Cabernet Sauvignon, along with blocks of other red grape varietals. The Chardonnay vineyards are located just north of the town of Napa, where the climate is ideally suited to Chardonnay.
What we look for in Chardonnay is a softness and a gentleness. And the reason we grow that in the southern Napa Valley rather than Calistoga is it's cooler during the day and warmer at night. So we don't have that huge diurnal shift because that could make the wines too strong.
Decades of experience with the same grapes and the same soil means that quality is consistent year after year.
I've been working this vineyard since I was a young man, and the experience we've gotten over the years is just irreplaceable. You can trust the vineyard. I trust the vineyard, and when you're going through this decision chain, the lifeblood decisions of any given vintage, you have this trust. It's built upon a great foundation. So when you're walking the rows and you're tasting the grapes, and it's like, 99 out of 100 are perfect, and you know where that vineyard is going to go. It's like, let's pick them. This is a perfect day.
Night harvesting assures grapes begin the process at the proper temperature. Day or night, when the grapes are ready to be harvested, experienced pickers move through the rows, selecting only those grapes which meet the winery standards.
You harvest Chardonnay at night, primarily for cold juice temperatures. Different flavors come off the grapes at different temperatures, and for the style of wine we like to make, we like cold pressed juice in the cold temperatures.
Yield is kept intentionally low, which helps keep the quality high.
The lighter and more austere soils at Cheatu Montelena give a lower crop yield, which ripen early, and that allows us to pick ripe grapes every vintage.
Crushing, fermenting, aging, and bottling occur here at the chateau. Each step of the process overseen by the winemaker.
What we look for in the estate cab is it has to taste like the vineyard that year. We take the alluvial soil with its dominant minerality, and we take the volcanic soils with the cedar tones and the rich, ripe fruit out of sedimentary. We put them together, year in, year out, and it gives us the structure of the wine that just speaks to people and says, yeah, that's a Montelena. The alluvial soil is really the heart of Cheatu Montelena. It's on the ancient Napa riverbed, the mouth of the Napa River, and the top section of the soil is where it's been farmed for 100 years and it's got a good agricultural topsoil. Then it moves into the gravelly middle section where it makes the vine penetrate right through with the roots, and then the roots go down into the big rocks further down and they get very deep rooted.
This tradition of excellence is rooted in history. Built by Senator Alfred Tubbs in 1882, the chateau is carved into the north side of a hill, forming its own man-made cave. Prohibition ended winemaking here for decades until Jim Barrett purchased the property, which had fallen into disuse.
When I first saw the winery here, this was in 1972, it was just a big stone building. Walls were 3 feet thick, but it was empty. It was full of ghosts and spiders. That was it. And I went out and looked at the vineyard, and it was, trash grapes, and it was just a mess. But I looked at it, and being an incurable romantic, I said, my God, look at this whole building, and look at where it is at the foot of Mount St. Helena. I said, this is just absolutely spectacular.
A team was assembled, and sharing a common vision began producing wine. From the beginning, the goal was simple: to make the best wine.
Back in 1972 when we got started, I decided not to try to reinvent the wheel, and really I used as our role model the first growths of France, Bordeaux. So first I had to figure out, how do you do that? I found out first and foremost they had very unique grapes coming from specific sites, and had been there for years and years and years. They had been working with the same grape, the same winery, the same personnel, all trying in their way to make world-class wines. And I said, okay, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to make a world-class wine in the New World.
His efforts soon paid off, and in 4 short years, Cheatu Montelena stunned the wine world by winning the Paris tasting of 1976.
I got the word that we had won this tasting, and it really didn't sink in until later when we realized who the tasters were, and then it was picked up by Time magazine, and our name just exploded in the wine world, not just in the United States, but all over, in Australia and France and everywhere. It was that event which really propelled us. It was just like a rocket burst. Cheatu Montelena's name was before everyone else. The reverberations from that were extraordinary because it caused the French to look at what they were doing, and they worked very, very hard to improve their wine. The Australians said, if the Americans can do it, we can do it. The Chileans did exactly the same thing. It affected winemaking throughout the whole world. It was really a threshold event, improving quality of wine all over the world.
For Jim Barrett, it was proof that he'd been doing it right.
Our reputation is that of a world-class winery. The wines would not be as good as they are, but for the fact that we have a team and a passion to develop it, because we have great pride in the fact that we have the opportunity to make world-class wines from this vineyard.
excellence at Cheatu Montelena works from the ground up. The perfect soil, the perfect climate, decades of experience, and a family commitment that is renewed each and every day, that only the best will carry the Montelena label.
Wine is a transitory product. It's somewhere between grape juice and vinegar. The hand of man and his interventions is everything. Without the people, the wine would not get made. We're not interested in making wine. We're interested in making the best wine.